No turning back, no turning back. I have decided only Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. I have decided only Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. I have decided only Jesus. Only Jesus. All my days, no greater treasure, no sweeter name. The cross before me, the world behind. I have decided only Jesus. The cross before me, the world behind. I have decided only Jesus. Is in the fullness of your name, in the power of your grace, you lift me up, you lift me up. In the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name, we lift me up, you lift me up, you lift me up, and failing stronger than mountains, deeper than oceans, reaches to me. Oh, your love, oh Lord, reaches to the faithfulness reaches to the sky. Is your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heavens. Oh, is your faithfulness reaches to the sky. It's in the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name, you lift me up, you lift me up, and failing love, stronger than mountains, deeper than oceans, reaches to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's settle down. Let's settle down. The time is now. The time is now. Yes, I would like us to, first of all, appreciate those guys in that corner, Arnold and Martha. Yes, thank you so much for that amazing music. And we shall be getting more of them as we go along with the program. And I just want to say that our panelists are in the house. You guys are not excited. They will go back. Our panelists are in the house. Hey, yes. I would like someone to volunteer to give us a prayer. And then we'll be off with the panel session. Anyone? A volunteer? Yes? Anyone? You're coming? Yes, you come, Francis. You pray for us.
Okay. Let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer. Oh Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us to this place, oh Lord. I pray that you will rest heavily in this place, oh Lord, and that you shall be a teacher unto us through the panelists that we're going to have, oh Lord. May this session impart on us May this session impart on us your wisdom, O Lord, and may your will be done. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Okay, appreciate Francis. Thank you so much for that. If you're coming for the very first time, please make sure we have your name and contact over there at the registration desk. We have a WhatsApp group for Heritage. We keep these conversations going from time to time, and there's communications of different kinds concerning heritage programs. So, without further ado, I want to welcome a couple that is very dear to me. They have ministered here with us. We have seen them from, from time memorial. And they have faithfully served. And now they're here to share with us insight about marriage. So please welcome with me. Put your hands together. First, put your hands together. And welcome with me the Omaras. Okay, and I would like to welcome just one more person who is going to be talking along in this session, sharing different things concerning this topic. And I want you to put your hands together. He's a very special person as well to me. Put your hands together and welcome with me Mr. Isaac Ochin. Yes. Okay. So we're going to have different sets of panelists. There's lots of married people that we're going to learn from. And this is our first set. They'll be chewing on their questions. And you're going to enjoy what they'll be sharing, okay? So let's get started. Maybe before I start, who knows the topic for today? Who has seen it on a flyer or had a friend? What did they tell you we are going to talk about today? Some of you might have just landed here. By the way, do you know what we are doing here? You might also be thinking we are meeting for something else. Yes, what's the topic for today? Anyone? I need to be coming with sweets, I think, to motivate guys. Okay, I have sweets. What was I'm not... Yes, anyone? I can't hear. Yes, please. Before I do. Thank you very much. Please clap for him. Clap for him. Some people are saying before he does what? We're talking about that vow in the church when you say I do with your partner. And we want to share conversations around things you need to ask your partner, to ask yourself before you make that commitment. And so that's what these guys are here for. And I want to dive straight into it with our first question. So, as I get into that, first of all, I would like them to just tell us a little bit about themselves. I know we saw Jonah on the previous panel, but just as a refresher, you can just know who they are and how long they have been married. Just that. So let's start from that side, coming like this. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jonah. I'm glad to be here. Anyway. But I'm glad to be here. This is my wife, Faith. We've been married for how long? I think 2.5 years, maybe almost, maybe 7 months. Yeah.
Wow, please appreciate Jenna, our first panelist. I think we already have our first question before marriage. Will he remember how many years we are married? That's the first question you should ask.
Safe, yeah, survived. I was going to sleep in the sofa. Hi, guys. I'm called Faith Omara. This is my husband, and we have one child. And yes, we've been married 2 years and almost 6 months now.
Wow, please clap for Faith.
Praise the Lord. My name is Ochen Isaac. My wife is Jane Ochen. She's a woman. She was born female. We have been married for 13 months. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, please appreciate Isaac as well. My name is Paul Mwanguzi, your host this evening. I have been married for a year. Hey, yes, a year. Our anniversary was 15th January. Yeah, we made the year on 15th January. And yeah, we've been blessed with one son so far. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful journey, I can say. I hope I can also contribute something to this conversation this evening. So, our first question this evening is going to be around, we're going to focus on a few areas because we really cannot finish everything that you can possibly ask. And we'll focus mostly on some of the things we think are very, very vital that you must think about or ask your partner as you think about going down that road. And so I'll start with family, and I'll start with you, Isaac. Are there questions you asked yourself or your partner concerning their family before you got married? And if you did, or maybe even if you didn't probably ask, are there things you experienced concerning your partner's family that probably you felt you should have asked about and found out about before going into marriage?
So the truth is, I did not ask myself anything about the family because I didn't think that I had to ask until I got into counseling. And then the counselors made us realize that, fine, your marriage is between the two of you, but you'll never, ever kick the families out. Because, for example, you bring your wife, you've brought her into your family. There's a nuclear family and the extended family. There's no way you can avoid some opinionated uncles, some aunties who always feel like she's too small, she's too big, she's too light, she's too dark. Why didn't you marry from your own tribe? Why are you bringing for us strangers? See those archaic things. So, when we got into counseling, okay, before that, my parents had always told me, make sure that the family you're marrying from is a good family. In other words, they know Christ. And thankfully, my parents and Jane's had already so we had established that they knew Christ. But now, the very important thing you have to ask yourself, if you're the girl, ask yourself, what is the stamp of your husband's mother's character? What does she behave like? Because you're going to deal with her, whether you like it or not. And she will influence that brother, whether you like it or not. And then, you should also ask yourself, how does this girl's mother treat her father in the house? How? Because the guy will probably not expect anything less at the start. It's just normal. Because you enter, and since your mother always, maybe as soon as your dad reaches, she takes his coat, removes the socks and what. That is what you're used to seeing. And subconsciously, you have adapted to it. You don't know it yet, But as soon as you enter the house, you realize that some of the things you thought were not important to you have started to become important. So in order to save yourself that headache, okay, you can't really avoid the headache. The headache is part of it, and you should embrace it. But ask yourself, how does the girl's mother treat the father? And then for the brother, you need to ask yourself the same questions. What is the stamp of the girl's father? How does he treat the girl in the house? Or how does he treat the women in the house? If you are a lousy guy and the girl's father gave her everything, she will expect you to give her everything, especially at the start. So try to find out those things, and you don't have to really do so much. Just observe. I think that's it for now.
Okay, so I'll go on to Faith.
The same question, eh?
Yes, it's just around family. Did you ask yourselves those questions? If you didn't, what did you find when you were in it that you felt you would have asked maybe?
I don't think we really first asked what our families were like before we decided to get married. But now, like for me, I was lucky to really be loved by his mom before we even said we were getting married. Eh? So they would go out of the country and bring for Faith a dress or some nice bag, or so there was already. Eh? So even at some point when we had rifts, like, which was mostly because of me, guys, he was a very good guy. Yeah, that would sort of make me feel guilty, like you want to treat parents like rubbish. They have loved you this much, but anyway, I have really loving parents-in-law, and then also I found that we are already friends with his siblings. That was us. I was just lucky like that, I think. Yeah, I used to, before I met the man of my dreams, I used to fear that part. I used to feel like, how will I handle sisters of that guy? They used to really creep me out the most. When girls are not easy, at least brothers, I just feel like they'll be looking at me like, will she keep his house clean? Will she? But then I was blessed to find mostly younger sisters. Like, yeah, so they'll be looking at me like, Auntie Faith. Yeah, so thank God. But then another thing, not that I ask, but I guess there are some things that the subconscious affirms, yeah, that he was raised in a stable family with mom and dad, with mom acting as mom and dad acting as dad, not either person trying to usurp the other person's role. So somehow I think it played in his character being, yeah, we were quite like-minded as a result, yeah, which I thank God for. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, Jonah, how about you? Did you ask yourself questions about her family, or even you, her dad was already like, oh, my son, Jonah?
Wow. Well, for me, I guess even early on when we met, I was already as if of a frequent visitor at their home. So, yeah, so somehow I was known there, though I wasn't known as the guy, like this is maybe the daughter's boyfriend or something like that. But of course, parents aspect, they see you're always here, you always come with Faith, or why. So I guess that earlier on, I guess that helped build a relationship where I had an idea of the family. Although I don't think the family is wonderful, but it's not like if maybe there are question marks. There might be some here and there, but it's not like that would determine. I don't want to marry this lady. Like I am going to marry the lady primarily. Like I am joining I am somehow connected to the family, but primarily I'm marrying faith, and so that would help determine. I don't know, so that you're not just, oh, they do this, no, I can't marry. Oh, they do this. You will always find something. There will always be maybe a question mark or something you don't like, or something maybe because you grew up in a certain way, your family sees differently, or maybe what if it's not Christian? As Isaac said, what if it's not Christian, but the lady is? Does that stop you? Are you like, no? Yeah, but it would be something to have in mind nonetheless, because just no family definitely has some effect on your marriage one way or another. So, yeah.
Okay. Yes, Isaac wants to add something small.
So perhaps to bring it closer to some of you, because I can see some very single people here, and some people who have who have just begun to date. Some singleness shows on the face. So some of you are perhaps dating, and you do not know when to tell your families about this guy or chick. Now, you also need to know the kind of family the person is in. Let me just give you my experience. Jen's family, according to her anyway, I didn't believe this, but according to her, as soon as you introduce a guy, they expect that the wedding is coming soon. Now, I was a broke brother, first of all. I had just finished campus. I had nothing. There's no way I was going to start wedding things. So I told her, go and tell your parents that I exist. Because that's the only way we shall have accountability. So if you thought that we were joking, we are not. So go and tell them. When they ask you about the wedding, I will come and explain. That's what I told her. Of course, she first jazzed her stuff, but I told her, just go. So she went. Eventually, I convinced her that they cannot force us to get married. There's no way. We'll just explain ourselves. They can see the situation. So as soon as she told her parents, her dad called me and invited me home just to meet me in that capacity. I've never been more scared in my life. When I was going there, I felt like we were not reaching. I felt like I was lost. I couldn't breathe in the taxi. But when I got there, I was a really nice guy. Of course, fathers will always ask you about what do you do, how much do you make. They are concerned about whether the girl you're taking, their girl, will be okay. Now, for you, it might be different. Some of you have parents who will just, you introduce your boyfriend and they're okay. And there are those of you who you know that your father will kill that boy. Since he sent you to campus to study, he will ask you. So you need to know those things. But in the event that you can't tell your parents, you need to tell someone else who's more senior so that you are accountable, so that you're not shady. You know those secret things, eh? Yeah, they're dangerous.
Okay, well, concerning family, even for me personally, I remember we talked about the fact that we were from different tribes. And I talked to my parents, just poking them. Would you allow someone who is from Germany? Those kinds of things. Eh? Yeah, just to see how they would react. Just poking. Yeah, I just kept getting a picture of, okay, this is their view, that's their view. And even for her, I had to make her actually think about it. Like, what if your dad, you bring me and you're like, no, I don't take guys from South Sudan. Those kinds of things. And they say, no, take away this boy, those kinds of things. So she had to actually think about that. And so it's important, not so that you cancel and you're like, what? They won't allow me, let me run away. But you need to think about those things because they're important. And the different things you will see about the family, some you will find out as you go along. So you will not do research and uncover everything. And you not go in also like CIA agents. So that you know every secret. Now this auntie, the other uncle, those kinds of things, yeah? It's not about uncovering secrets, yeah? It's more of a thing of grounding yourself to reality, okay? Yes, so before we continue any further, I would like to welcome our other panelist, Gab. Please welcome him as he comes to the front. Okay. I'll just give you a minute to tell us who you are and how long you have been married. Just that.
Praise the Lord. My sincere apologies that I am late. About 3 o'clock, my program just ran away from me, and I sent apologies because I knew that because one thing was off track, it was going to throw a number of other things off track. So I'm really sorry that I'm late, but I'm glad that I'm here. My name is Iguma Gabriel. I am the husband of the Mothers Union chairperson of St. Francis. Yes, my wife refers to herself as the life president of the Happy Wives Club. We've been married for now 11 years, 11 years and 2 weeks. Yes, we have 2 children. And yeah, we're still enjoying our honeymoon.
Okay, before you release the mic, we just found us talking about family. And I know even with you, you had to maneuver that thing of coming from different cultures. Are those things you talked about with her before you got into marriage, or they just hit you when you began the process? And then how did you deal with them? Is it something someone should think about when they're going into marriage?
Well, it's something that you have to think about because regardless of whether you care about it or not, at certain points it's going to hit you. It's best that it hits you when you're ready for it. My wife and I did not think that tribe was going to be a big problem. Her mother lived in the UK. I grew up on this campus. And I usually tell my friends that I am just one of those fortunate or unfortunate Ugandans who do not think about tribe. So somehow, I don't categorize people according to tribe. And a person will say their name and I will not think, oh, therefore you're this tribe. I just know people. Why? Because I grew up in a community that was so diverse and tribe meant nothing. So, her mom lived in the UK, and I thought that meant that her mom was exposed and did not care about certain things. Her mom came back maybe when we had been dating maybe 3 or so years. And when she found out about this serious relationship, she instantly had a problem. Not a problem with the relationship, but a problem with my tribe. And according to my wife's mother, good men came from only 2 tribes. You either had to be a Muganda or you had to be a Musoga. And therefore, the rest of the tribes did not qualify in her eyes. There's a Musoga at the back who is currently dancing. Anyway, so yes, that was a huge, huge problem. And it's a problem, it's an issue we had to navigate. Now, I don't know how we are answering these questions. I don't know if I should leave it there or I should continue. All right. So, this was a huge problem. It got so bad that my wife's mother started telling her siblings to discourage her, from continuing with a relationship. My wife insisted. So, whole family was sent. First it was siblings, then cousins, and everybody who could be sent was sent. And she had made her mind up. it got so bad that close to, the Kwanjula, her mother had still not accepted. And she now outrightly told her, "You will not bring that man to my home." I basically forbid it. And we were already, planning to get married. I had already proposed. We had hoped that somewhere along the way she was going to come to terms with this thing, and she had not. And now we were faced with a real issue. And like young people would usually do, we came up with a plan. And this basically meant that if our wedding list was of 350 people, now there were 349, minus one. Yeah, somehow you think we can just go ahead, isn't it? Her father was okay with it, and her father was therefore going to sign the parental consent, and we're going to go ahead. So what used to happen is, after we would have service at church, we would go to a canteen that's over at the above the Catholic Center. There's a canteen over there. It's a place where we used to go and chill after service and wait for the next service to end, and then more people would come and join us, and then would come together and eat. What do you guys call it, chimeza? Would come and eat the food for ministers, because we were ministers. We had ministered years before we still qualified to eat that food. Anyway, so one day we are over there, and we are with a couple of friends, and we're talking about the situation. And we said, we with these friends of ours from church, we discussed how we're going to go about it, and really we're going to continue in defiance. And there was this older San Franciscan who was listening, and he came over to us. He was with two of his children, and he said, "I apologize because I've been eavesdropping on your conversation. And I'd just like to say, I know you people as San Franciscans, I know you as people that serve here, and therefore you fear the Lord. The Lord requires that you honor your parents." And we explained to him why this particular parent was not worth honoring, because we had tried to honor. And we definitely had a very good explanation as to why we're not going to go through with this. But I will tell you that, of course, the conviction was planted in our hearts, and now we started to think about it. And so, a couple of days later, we decided that we were going to honor her mother. We did not know what that was going to look like, but we decided that we were going to honor her mother. For no other reason but because it is required by the Lord that we honor our parents. And some will add, it is the only commandment that comes with a condition, that comes with a promise after it. So anyway, we made this decision, this unilateral decision. And before we could act on it, and that is to say, before we could do anything about what we had decided we were going to do, when we agreed on it, her mother called her. Very frantic on the phone, and asked her, "But what's wrong with you? We are going to have visitors very soon, and you haven't yet come home for us to plan how we are going to receive our visitors." And she's like, "What?" She practically took the phone, looked at it, like, who am I speaking to? And she got back on the phone and, "Mommy, as in, come home now. We need to plan to receive our visitors." And her mother rallied everybody who she had sent to discourage her from the relationship. rallied them to plan to receive us in an honorable way. There is power in following, abiding, respecting, living into the Word of God. And that's where we saw our breakthrough.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Gab. Before I leave you, what would you tell that one person here who has already planned, they have even brought the tents, they're at the venue, they have said, whatever comes for me, I'm marrying this person. If they have refused, they know their things.
Every situation is unique. But the thing is this. I encourage you to actually lean in and hear what God is saying. We have friends where God has outrightly spoken and said, this relationship is not going to happen. The one with your parents is not going to happen. And therefore the instruction I'm giving you is in this direction. Certain times we're the ones telling ourselves that. There are times when it is the Lord and He will confirm it. So you need to find out where in that equation you fall. All right? But I warn you, the end of the matter will not be good for you if you are dishonoring your parents against the will of God. Because the first thing you try and do is actually honor your parents. Then you shift the burden from yourself to them. Because as a believer, there is a part that you have got to play. And you are not exonerated from playing that part because of the way you're feeling. So you do it. And you do it in total surrender. Because we also have this nice way of, doing what we know the Lord, what we're supposed to do, but to tick a box. Yeah, because you already know I'm going to do this, but because I am required to do that, I'm going to do it, but I'm still going this direction. No, that's not how you listen into the Lord. No, no. You leave it with God. You leave it with God. And there are 1,000,001 stories I could tell on how that has turned out. My wife and I have counseled. I now lose track of how many people, but more than 10 couples. And I will tell you that there's a different story in there. And we've seen God moving in interesting ways different from the way He moved in our situation. But what stays the same, is the Word of God. And if you go by the Word of God, at least our experience has been that the Lord does not disappoint you. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much for that, Gab. I want to now take us to finances. And I'm going to start with the lady. There's too much masculine energy on the panel. We need to calm it down. So let me start with Faith. Are there things that you thought about before getting into marriage? Maybe he must be driving a Range Rover, or at the very least, maybe at least a Volkswagen, something like that. And all these things of my Kameza money shouldn't be less than 2 million. Yeah. So those things maybe you thought before you got in, and what you're experiencing now, that you would encourage someone to think about more and maybe not think about what would not benefit them in that line of finances.
Okay, I can think of one main one now. Before we got married, and before we had a good session with our counselors, who are the Igumas, by the way, on finances, in my head, I just knew that, the truth is there are things we learn from growing up without being told, but the way you see things being run at home. I just knew that to be safe, you must have your car thing on the side for fallbacks, for whatever. And
by your thing, you mean like as a woman?
Yes,
okay.
Let me call it like that. Huh? Yeah, because esawa yonna, you know that esawa yonna. Omusajja yetu sabichi. Yeah, so I was quite ready to look for something to. I was even already saving my money, by the way. Like, I will enter this relationship with my worth, and he will also show how he can. Huh? Yeah, and then when we had a counseling session on finances, meanwhile, it's not like they were telling us do this or do that, but they just tell you, so for me, actually, Gab is the one that handles the ATMs. What? I first looked like I am working, my sweat, my hard, and he has the ATM card. You get it? I cannot go and buy myself a pizza, spoil myself, and no. Like, it didn't settle very easily, that even when we were planning for the wedding and stuff, I deliberately held back. Choka had come money, eh? I held back, like, this man will buy the rings, he will pay for church, I'm not going to put my hand there, he has to marry me. I still don't know if that's a bad thing, I don't know, but yeah, I didn't chip in on the vital things. So anyway, let me leave that one. Yeah, but with that ringing in my head, it only made sense that if you're getting married, the two have become one. You go and you vow before witnesses, everything I have, I give to you. All that I am, I share with you. At the back of your mind, you know you're going to keep your money. Eh? Yeah, it doesn't add up for a Christian that is growing in truth. And so I thank God that he softened, like, almost immediately after we got married. I just did not see the need to have my own thing and his own thing, yet we are one. And so one day, before I went to work, because I used to work up country, I was like, hey, you left your hanky. And I removed my ATM card and put it in his pocket. Then he checked and he almost teared. Yeah, and since then, he handles the finances, and I must say it has been like the best decision in life. I sit back and be his queen. Yeah, but I would strongly recommend that you have a joint, okay, it doesn't have to be joint account, but be completely transparent with everything that you earn and plan for it together, because it is yours together. It's for the unit, right? It's not my money and his money. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me come to Isaac. What were your ideas around finances and the dynamics you found when you got there?
I think all brothers either dealt with this or will deal with it. You look at your fiance's father or father figure. See where he is in life, what he has done, and how he takes care of the girl. And then you ask yourself, now, Ochen Isaac, how do I compare to this brother? Not considering that he has been at it for so many years more than you. So, of course, I had that challenge. I said, now, Mr. Tumwine is a very experienced brother. He does gigs of tens or hundreds of millions. I cannot match up to that. Will I be able to take care of Jane? I think every guy will ask themselves that question. And if you don't, you're in trouble. And that sister needs to run or pray for you. But that was the very first question I asked myself. And to be honest, we didn't have much. That's the truth. Most of the money we started off with came from people's generosity or collecting money for the wedding, but being sharp so that you save some. You don't need to have a 50 million wedding when you've never held a single 1 million in your life. Like, there's life after. So, when we actually got married now, all these things they tell you in theory, and then you actually get there, and then you realize that money is important. Now, you guys, you do not know how important money is yet. But you will know when you get married. Because as soon as we got married, we just came back from our honeymoon. And the first message we received was about someone going back to school who needed requirements. So we sat down and asked ourselves, don't these guys know that we have just begun? Like, in society's eyes, you have now reached You've probably made it. After all, you had a nice wedding, so you must have money. So the need for money became real immediately. There was no shock absorber. You just, thankfully we had paid for rent for a few months ahead. And then you realize now that you have to move from home to work, and you can't walk. So you don't have a car yet, if you don't have a car. And then you need to use a border. The border, you must go to work and come back from work. So you calculate all the money you need for the whole month and make sure it's there. You haven't spoken about food. You haven't spoken about curtains. Now, for me, I will not recover from curtains. Because when they bring you the bill, you say this woman is extravagant. And she tells you, let's go. And you see. So you enter, and then the first one you like is twice the price she quoted for you. And then you just keep quiet. But you have to buy the curtains. Because it's important for the house, but especially to the wife. Anyway, that one just got me. That one got me off the point. So, you realize that some things are more important than others. While you were still dating, you stayed in your parents' house. She stayed in her parents' house. Debts were affordable. Because you didn't have to pay rent. You didn't have to pay for utilities, yaka, all those things. So you could afford to spend 200K, you know. Like you save it up and you feel like you're financially stable. Like you're the guy, you know, when you go to Java's and they bring the bill, you just... And then you get married, and then you realize there's no more daddy, no more mommy. Nobody calls you to say, would you like a 50K? Would you? Can we send you this 1 million that we don't need? No one. Except maybe a few people. But usually they call to check on you and say, how is it? Of course you won't say, man, we are struggling. We are hustling. Stuff is tight. We regret. No, you won't say those things. You have to find your way. So my only advice to you is that when you get there, focus on the things which are important. You need to give yourselves time to settle down and get into the rhythm of married people. When you're single, I can go to work, I can walk to work. But if your wife tells you, I do not want you to walk to work, it's not because she's showing off. It's actually important to her that you come home when your shoes are clean. You come home when you're not too tired to give her time. You understand? So you most definitely have to make the money to ensure that you do not walk to work. So you must get your priorities straight, I think, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And our last panelist as well is here. Okay, just give her a minute, she'll be here. But we can go on to the next part, which I'm going to now give Jonah and Gab. We still have 2 more parts to cover. So the next bit is lifestyle. Are there things you thought to yourself when you were getting in? Like, in this house, we support Liverpool. If you're marrying me, there's no supporting any other club. You must give up this. Okay, that's very minor. But there might be things that are very big that you used to do that maybe the other person expected you to give up, and or you expected the other person to give up. Are there things like that that you can think about or remember?
Give up.
Yeah, lifestyle things, yes. Maybe let's clap for Mrs. Arinaitu as she takes a seat. Yes, thank you very much for coming. At least now the panel has been neutralized. It's been having too much masculine energy. Yeah, so thank you so much for coming, Mrs. Arinaitu. Yes, Jonah.
To give up. Are there things you told me to give up? I can't put a finger on something which he said, I need you to stop doing this. I actually don't remember things of that particular nature. So I'm trying to say.
What about for you on the other hand? Like for you, are there things maybe you expected her to stop doing? Maybe girls' nights out, this, I don't know. Anything of that kind. You are in sync. Okay, let me first come. Should I first come to Gab as you think?
Okay, yeah, let me think.
Okay, let me first get to Gab. Lifestyle, yes.
So the question on lifestyle. I happen to come from, in the circles I'm in, I'm usually the person that keeps people together. And somehow I expected that even after marriage, I would, be that person who the plot kind of centers around. I am the one who, organizes, all the groups, whether it is university or former, secondary school or former primary school or whatever. I was just that person. There's no way it was going to work and still, be able to focus on raising this new family. And that was a hard one for me to let go of because I felt like I needed to be everywhere. I needed to be a part of all the things. And it just wasn't practical. And certain times when she, when I'd get up and start to leave, and she would ask, where are you going? That also was a big issue because I grew up in a home where the boys had no curfew. And not even once in my life did my father ask me where I was going. Now, my wife is asking me where I am going. And suddenly, a very simple question was such a big problem. Because, how do you ask me where I'm going? The general opinion is that I am a responsible person. Are you trying to suggest that I am irresponsible? That where I am I don't know where I'm going and what I am going to do does not make sense? Little did I know that from her part, it was really a point of accountability. Not that she was giving me permission to go where I was going or I needed to. No, but it really was accountability and mutual accountability. It took me a while to let go of that one. And, our first child came, 4 years in? And the day that little person stood in front of me and asked me, Daddy, where are you going? Like, it's over. It's over. Again, accountability. Because then I ask her to account for what she's doing, but I do not demonstrate that accountability. Then where is she going to learn it from as a child, And yes, how am I going to show my wife that I honor her if I cannot even tell her, where I'm going? So that for, lifestyle, was a big one. Of course, in my mind, I thought we were really going to, live in this very nice neighborhood. We were going to have a nice 2 to 3 bedroomed house, and we were going to buy a brand new car. Yeah, none of that worked out in that way. Our first car. So when we just got married, we had my wife's mother's car. And just before the baby came, in fact, we were at the hospital for our final antenatal. She asked for the logbook of the car because she wanted to sell it. And we had that car as in, it practically was our car. In fact, our cell group owned that car more than we did because any cell activity, that car was the official means of transport. And so we suddenly had to think about buying our own car. And we bought a car at 3.5 million shillings. 3.5 million. And the guy who sold it to me told me, the engine of this car is going to last a maximum of 3 months. And it will die. And so you are buying really a shell. You need to buy an engine for this thing. There is a long story around that. Time will not allow us to go into it, but those are some of the lifestyle things. I don't know. Somehow, majority of the men think you're going to get married and the home is going to, life is sorted. The place is going to be neat. Clothes are going to be washed, ironed, arranged, and what have you. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works, because you haven't gotten married to a washing machine, a chef, and somebody who is going to tidy you up. No. Both of you are going to work this thing out. Yeah, both of you. And so please, I am here to tell you, get ready. Yeah, get ready. Because when she is scrubbing the bathroom, you are not going to be there looking at the things in the sink, wondering, when is she finishing the bathroom? So that she comes and takes care of these ones. Yeah, because if she goes to scrub the bathroom, you better find what to scrub. Most likely the dishes. If she goes to the dishes first, you're the one going to scrub the bathroom. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Gab. Jonah, have you picked something?
Okay, because it's because of maybe the way the question came at first. I think because before we got married, we were at St. Francis, similar circle, like saying, I don't want you to do this, or I don't want you to do that. But nonetheless, there are things that grow, and also you're not living together. Then when you get married, you begin to learn. You learn about your spouse, but you also learn about yourself, because I think we have very high views about who we are. We think we are the kindest people. We think we are the most patient. We think we can deal with anything until you have to deal with it, and then you realize you're suffering. You're not patient. You're not as loving as you thought you are. You think you're so loving. Yeah, but I could say building lifestyle, especially as Christians, it's something you guys will have to think about a lot, because your Christianity, and I like this is a Christian event. I don't know. We pretend to be very many things. Yeah. But like your spouse sees it and sees it in its realest form. But that's a gift to us from God, because there is someone that sees that and someone that can point it out. Whereas you would have jumped over it and been like, nah, I'm good. Your spouse will look at you and show you, not because she doesn't love you or he doesn't love you, but because she loves you and because he loves you, will show you there is this problem. And I think you're trying too hard to show people that you're this. Yeah? Or maybe you should actually work on this. Or maybe. So, as a Christian in marriage, that lifestyle should work outward. Like we should see it.
Just reminded me of something very simple. Sometimes when we think about lifestyle, you might think you're going to give up very, very big things like alcohol, what. But let me give you an example of something very small. For me personally, I have a weakness with closing doors and turning off lights. Now, when I was at my parents' house, who cares? I'm going to my room, I can leave on the light the way I want. Now I come to this house, just like Gab, how they asked him, where are you going? He kept telling me, why have you left this light on? Why have you left that door open? And I kept thinking, Banang, can't I have some peace around here? And then the Yakabil comes. The thing starts making noise as you're sleeping. Beep, beep. Then I begin to realize I need to switch off lights. Mosquitoes are biting me. I realize I need to close doors. So things like that. So I think your lifestyle has to change one way or another. And it's not a case of someone just saying, now that you're in this house, thou shalt close doors, thou shalt. No, I think it's something that actually has to come. Like Jonah was saying, for us to live out those things that we are, people think we are here at church. This guy is so patient. This guy is so kind. Your spouse is going to see that side of you that is getting fed up when they're telling you to switch off lights and close doors, you know? And you need to do those things. You need to do them so that you are everything that you think you are. Because we just think we are those things. But most of the times it's because it hasn't been tested. Yeah, and the marriage actually tests that. So there are lifestyle changes that have to come. I want to go to the last thing, and I'll start with Mrs. Arinaitwe. But before I go to the question, just tell us who you are and how many years you have been married.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see all of you. And when I look at the panel, I see the 3 generations accomplished. Amen. Yes, Paul and Jonah were my students at college school. So I feel so honored. I'm called Monica Alinaitwe. I'm married to one and only Moses Alinaitwe. And God has blessed us with 4 children. We've been married for the last 29 years. Yes, so 2 are adults, just like you, and then we have the 2 teenagers. So the house is empty. Praise God.
Okay, so the question I'm giving you is concerning roles. We're now in an empowered society, you know. People can identify us, you know. On this panel, by the way, just to be clear, there are 4 gentlemen and 2 ladies, okay? Not by identity, but by fact, yeah? Yes, naturally. So we're in a society where people are so much around identifying us and having there's this fever around who is doing more. How can the men be winning in this area? Where are the women here? Where are the men in this place? Those kinds of things. So when we come to marriage then, are there some things we can interchange? Are roles things that we can talk about before and we're like, there you girl, you should be the provider. The way your job looks. For me, let me be at home and I clean the dishes. You know, that kind of thing. Is it something we can talk about and interchange, or it's set in stone and we need to find a way to fit in those God-given roles? Yes.
Thank you very much, Paul. I must admit that the society is changing, and for us to catch up, we really must change. And we used to talk about stereotyping in the ancient things, but they have caught up with roles and responsibilities. I just want to remind us that what God gives, He gives to the couple. If it's resources, it doesn't matter who has more and who has less. The resources are for the couple. If it comes to responsibilities, ironing, if the gentleman irons, nothing happens. If the gentleman washes dishes, nothing happens. If the lady provides for rent,